Welcome back. Checking in with some domestic news now. First to the Carolina coast, which is still reeling from the impact of Hurricane Florence. Earlier this week, President Trump praised FEMA's relief efforts from a video recorded at the White House.
I just want to thank all of the incredible men and women who have done such a great job in helping with Florence. This is a tough hurricane, one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Rarely have we had an experience like it, and it certainly is not good.
On Wednesday, the president traveled to New Bern, North Carolina, where he met with residents impacted by the storm. Here's what he had to say shortly before leaving Washington.
The rivers are cresting. They're just starting to crest. We're really just going to say hello to all of the folks from FEMA, the military, the people that are working so hard. And I think it'll be an incredible day.
Meanwhile, authorities in Horry County, South Carolina, confirmed that 2 female mental health patients died after their van was swept under flooding waters as they were being transported to a safer hospital. The women were restrained in the back of the van while 2 deputies were able to escape the vehicle. Those officers are now on administrative leave. Their deaths bring the Florence death toll to 37. Although Florence was only a Category 1 storm, it broke several flooding records, dumping an estimated 18 trillion gallons in total rainfall. Florence brought 2 feet of water down on Wilmington, North Carolina alone, setting a new record for total rainfall in the city this year. Flooded farmlands have left at least 3.4 million poultry, birds, and 5,500 pigs dead. North Carolina is the second largest pork producer in the country. With Hurricane Florence in question earlier today, we spoke to Pete Sikora of New York Communities for Change. Pete, whenever national or natural disasters like this strike, we see that the poor are mostly affected. How has this been the case with Hurricane Florence?
Well, the climate crisis is accelerating, and this disaster is an example of the hotter, wetter storms that we're getting, and that will get much worse in the future. So low-income communities and communities of color, of course, get the worst of it because people who are African-American, Latino, low-income don't have the power and money and wealth in society to fall back on in a disaster. So it hits especially hard in those communities.
Right, and can you just talk about the fact, when Hurricane Florence was making her way towards the Carolina coast, millions of people found themselves in these mandatory evacuation zones, but just doing that alone costs a lot of money, and people don't really think about that.
It does, absolutely. So you have to get away from the storm, obviously, but you also surrender income when you can't work, and you have to pay for the damage to your property and to your home. For a minimum wage worker in North Carolina, where you're barely at the poverty line or below it, taking time off from work alone can crush your possibilities. Your average American cannot afford an unanticipated $400 bill, and the bill from these kinds of disasters is substantially higher than that for most people.
And in your opinion, what can the government do to better prepare so that when these storms hit, the most vulnerable people in society aren't left behind?
So number one, the federal, state, and local governments have got to take on climate change and reduce air pollution that is going to cause these disasters and much worse in the future. Hurricane Florence is a stronger storm because of climate change, and the North Carolina government, instead of preparing, is going in exactly the opposite direction. They passed a law under the right-wing Republicans making it illegal to include sea level rise due to climate change in coastal planning. So people are suffering from these kinds of decisions right now. Our government needs to get its act together and take on the climate crisis and provide the kind of disaster relief and planning that's needed to deal with this monster crisis that's coming.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. We will hope to talk to you in the future again, hopefully with not such depressing news.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.